When you think of motor racing in Britain, there's few places that come to mind: Donington, Brands Hatch, but for many, it's the Silverstone circuit that has been a host to the Formula One British Grand Prix for many years, and hopefully again many years to come. We're here for the SCRS, I almost said Ferrari, the SCRS Porsche Supercup here at the Silverstone circuit here, looking for these guys to put on a fantastic show as they have for the first few races of the season. My name's Finny Nakuna here with Jeff Arroyan, and Jeff, I think we're looking forward to a really great race. The last few have been phenomenal to watch.
Yeah, the last few have been really great races to watch for sure. It's been really good entertainment, and hopefully this race will be really good too, because Silverstone's also got some really tight corners and some really nice passing opportunities.
Yeah, and those tight corners really tend to lean itself into drivers making some interesting maneuvers, to say the least, into some of these corners, desperate for positions. We saw last week Circuit de la Sarthe, which is the complete opposite of really this circuit. Circuit de la Sarthe, very much a low downforce circuit here. You can argue pretty high downforce in a lot of the corners. You think of Maggots and Beckett's, you think of Stowe as well, that these drivers trying to navigate through. And speaking of which, they're already out. At least the AM field is out for qualifying at the moment. Again, 3 races here. We got the AM Cup here right now, a short sprint race, about 15 minutes in length. Then we combine both the AM and the Pro field for the Super Cup Race 1 and Race 2 later on, 25 minutes apiece. And also some big news going into tonight as well, a change up in the order for the AM field. We'll pull down here the graphics. You can see the standings at the moment. You'll notice a lot less drivers on the ticker and on the grid, and that's because there's been a lot of promotions for drivers up into the pro category, notably Isaac Snyder, Nicholas Morelli, Sean Unterkuffler, Kyle Edwards-Lamb, James Walker, and Chris Hudson all got promoted to the pro category, so that's 6 drivers right there. And Jeff, and really, so with the large amount of promotions, is there anyone now that you're kind of looking at in this AM field, especially because you've raced here with this group of guys in the past, anyone looking that, will come to mind as taking home the win in this AM Cup race?
I would imagine, I think Brian Shabelsky and probably, and Nikki as well, probably would be people to look at. I know Plord's also had some pretty good results here in the series as well, so I would assume that either of them can probably get some good results in this race.
Yeah, looking at Brian Shabelsky as well, already on a qualifying lap. Same thing with Ryan Plord as well. He's coming through Stowe now to complete a lap time, and coming through the final few sections of track as well. Ryan Plord will get it ready to see here the first few drivers as they come across the line where they're going to end up in the order. Drivers have a few laps to be able to put down here. We'll see if it was a clean one for Plord. Across the line, indeed it is. 206.2 for the 74 machine. Will put him on provisional pole. Looking at Drew Lidke as well. And I've got to say, after Lidke took the AM Championship and Ferrari Challenge a few seasons ago, I'm a bit surprised to not see him performing better. I'm curious of your thoughts as well, especially competing alongside him.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say about that is I think the Ferrari Challenge is, well, the car itself, being the 488 GT3, is quite a bit of a different car, and it does require a decent bit of a different skill, because you have to rely a lot more on your braking skill, and a lot of your pace really comes from the brakes. So as long as you do well with that, then you can do good. But if you don't, then you're also normally really off. You can be really far off the pace by a matter of like a second or more.
Yeah, looking at the rest of the drivers coming through to complete their first laps, Andrew Mickey, we're talking about him as being a solid competitor. For him back in 8th place, and for Mickey it's a weird case because he's shown some signs of greatness and in some winning form, but hasn't quite been able to get there on some occasions. I definitely know last week Le Mans did not go entirely his way. Hopefully Silverstone plays out a little bit better for him. Got a look here. Also got Race Clark in the 22. That's an interesting entry. Not sure if he joined to watch or if he's actually going to be taking part, but I see him on the timing and scoring. Yet to put down a time. See if he does get out there to indeed do that. Still Ryan Plord up on pole, and you weren't kidding about him having a solid shot of winning this race, showing some really strong pace.
Yeah, he's got 6/10 on P2, which is quite a large gap. I would be surprised if Mick Blue could catch up to that, because that's quite a sizable gap.
Talking about McBlue, as you see him coming into the final few corners of the track, it's been a messy start to the season for McBlue in some cases. Did not particularly have a good run at Monza, ended up getting into Snyder, and that took him down the order here, but also looking at a really good run. Leaky, just talking about him, he actually just jumped up to pole, so I think he heard what we were talking about him, and we just went a little bit faster, and how about that too, by 0.3 of a second.
I'd be curious. And I mean, and Mick Blue did actually just go quite a bit faster, so this actually could be quite a good top 3 battle here for qualifying.
Yeah, the N Cup races failed to disappoint too, just because these guys are in the AM category. They're definitely still going at it tooth and nail, especially considering that all these races count for the championship, and these guys get an extra race. This race again to feature some of the AM drivers that normally wouldn't get featured during the combined races, where we have the pro and the AM field. Typically, we focus more on the front with the pro drivers, so these guys get to show their talent out here. And so far, doing a pretty solid job in qualifying. Brian Shabelski up into 4th place. He's got 0.6 to make up here as he's working onto the back straightaway. And Jeff, I gotta ask you here, as we're just about ahead towards Maggots and Beckett's, I'm sure you've taken this quarter quite a few times on iRacing. What's your strategy? I guess not even strategy. How do you like to take these tricky S's here?
Well, the big one right there, especially where it's going through, you really want to be on the left side, and you want to be prepared to go into that right-hander, and then coming into this left, you really want to be on the left-hand side as much as you can, so you can prepare for the exit of this corner, especially with this car. It does become quite skittish on exits. You want to get as early as possible and power as you can to get down the straight.
Here I'm back on the power, heading down the straight towards Stowe. Along our right hand, we'll go back on board too for Shabelski. I can definitely see too, and a big talking point is, you know, these guys going off the track to the left there on corner exit, you know, how much you can get away with. And we might see a few wrecks through there. I'm curious to ask you as well, where do you think we might see the most wrecks at this circuit? Or incidents, I guess is a better word.
You know, because there's so many tough corners here, it's tough to say. I would like to, you know, like it's kind of hard to predict. I would say turn 1 is kind of really, like, it'll be interesting because it does get pretty tight, especially when you're going into the first lap, because everybody's trying to kind of cut the, you know, get to the inside because they have to, because you're going so fast. And so it can be quite a tough thing to do sometimes, but there's just a lot of really tight corners here, and everybody kind of has to try and get to the line. And so it'll be interesting to see, I think, where everybody, you know, will have issue.
Yeah, and as everyone's come across the line, I think that's effectively going to wrap up our qualifying order here. So from the looks of it, looks like Ryan Plord's going to sit on pole position. However, not too far behind is Drew Litke, Brian Shabelski, and Mick Blue. And speaking of which, the gap between Shabelski and Mick Blue was only 4 thousandths of a second. That is extremely close for these guys here as qualifying is wrapping up. And hey, Jeff, you were mentioning a bunch of the drivers. You're talking about Ryan Plord, Brian Shabelski, all up there near the top. And as qualifying is completed here, we'll get ready to set the grid here. We'll have one pace lap around Silverstone, and then we'll get ready to go racing for 7 laps here, just about 15 minutes. And while we do that, while we're waiting for these guys to get over, we'll officially set the grid for you. We were talking about it at the end of qualifying. Ryan Plord sitting up on pole position. Next to him, Drew Litke starting up in 2nd place. We got back, we find Brian Shabelski line up in 3rd place. Next to him, Mick Blue going to line up in the 96 in 4th. Drew Eisenman going to be lined up in 5th in the 77 machine. Benjamin Pagula going to line up in 6th in the 7 car. Eric Brown line up in 7th place. Brian Hotham in 8th. Andrew Mickey going to line up in 9th in the 86. Steve Bunting going to line up 10th in the 83. Ryan Diener in 11th, and I don't believe we have Race Clark. He would be 12th, but he is currently not here. And Sean Foes will round out your AM Cup field. So now, since the grid is set, I guess I'll ask you again, do you still have your picks, you know, on, you know, for running this race, Ryan Plord, or is anyone else kind of taking, that you're taking a keen eye to?
Well, I think Lidkey, I think also being right up there, I think that might be an interesting one. But we're also gonna, I think, talking about Brian Shabelsky and even Nick Blue just being right there, within like what was it? It was 0.45, I believe. They were all within. So I mean, they're all right there in terms of the pace. So we'll have to see how everybody does here.
Indeed, we will, as the pace car are going to begin to roll off here. Very short pace left for these drivers, and a whole lot of time to really get any heat in these tires, and that's a big thing of concern. You saw there the weather is pretty cool, so they got some grip as far as the track's concerned, but the cold tires, they're going to have to be fighting them quite a bit to see the pace car roll off.
Yeah, I mean, the cold tires are really, really sketchy in the first lap, too, and you can lock up really easily. So that's definitely something to look out for.
Here is the field working through the final sector of track. There you see the pace coming off to the left and already on the gas, immediately getting this race started. Forward across the line, green flag in the air. Whoa, some cars sliding through. We're talking about cold tires, and already a spin from a driver in the background. We work our way through the first corners here into Village. Very much single file out for most of the field. They work their way on through the first series of corners, and especially very tight section this first sector.
Yeah, Lidkey's already putting heat on Florida as well, and you can see he's really trying to work with them and trying to kind of like make him go a long way around, and he's really trying to put him into tight spots. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I'm going to see if Lidkey's just going to kind of sit in behind Port, if he's going to push the issue here as we work into Brooklands for the first time for these drivers, and still very orderly start up front. It was Ryan Daynard wanted to point out that it was the car sideways out of the final corner to the starting line. Going to drop all the way back from 11th to 12th, so didn't really lose too much. You can see he's pretty much caught back up to the field. Is now working on Sean Foes. Back up front, Lidkey hounding the backup Ployd as they're starting to break away from the rest of the field. Oh, and actually going to be side by side here. You got a great run. Now headed towards Maggots and Beckett's here for the first time. Who's going to give? It looks like it's going to be Ploy that gives up the spot. And they'll put Lidkey to the lead.
Yeah, Lidkey's gone a little bit deep in the corner, so Plord might have a little bit better of a run. But no, it looks like he's going to get a really nice little run off the exit there.
Now Brian Shabelsky going to be lined up in 12th, right in behind the 74. Now he's got a chance of advancing his position here. He's careful enough. Started in third, still running in third as we're just about to complete lap number 1. Also, Drew Eisman, too, didn't really talk about him. Great qualifying effort from the 77. Did not have some of the best weeks. Think about Monza. It was a bit of a struggle for him in one of the races, but has moved his way up into 4th here in the AM Cup. For Ryan Plord, he looked a bit iffy into still, or a bit worried that he's just kind of struggling on these colder tires.
Oh yeah, it could be possible. It is I would wager it's definitely a skill that you have to pick up because the cold tires act quite a bit differently.
Working through this very tight section of track here and getting back on the gas. Very important to kind of modulate the throttle here through the left-hander. And behind, looking at a battle between Brian Hotham and Benjamin Pagula starting to heat up here down into Brooklands. For Benjamin Pagula, you can see him taking a wide line as they're working through Luffield is the corner we're working through right now. You think it's better to kind of set up for a run down this straightaway, or you think it's better to keep a tighter line on through?
Well, usually what you do through that corner is usually you want to clip the inside curb on the right side on entry, and then you want to bring it out a little bit wide. And I think especially in these cars, because the exit's exaggerated quite a bit, you really want to try and use as much space as you can in order to get the power down. So he's doing the right strategy there.
Looking back at our leaders, actually, I think there was something we missed as Plord took the lead back from Lidkey. Where this was. This is right actually through Luffield here. Or just watching Shabelsky go on through. Lidkey looked like he was struggling to get back on the power. You see the car twitching as he was trying to get back, and Plord was able to take advantage of it. So this race far from over between these two. It's just getting started.
I can see also Drew Eisenman is putting a lot of pressure on Stabelski as well.
And behind him, so whoa, as we saw a lockup there from Benjamin Pagula, a big puff of smoke, and that's allowed Ryan Hoffman to try to work around the outside. Very difficult to do here in this final corner. Very tight to navigate, both of them going a little bit off the track, but Hoffman going to have to give up the spot to Pagula. It's a battle for 5th place that you're watching on screen. Fairly quiet race at the moment for the AM Cup, again with the reduced field size for these guys, but coming to the pro race, we're essentially going to double the field. I think we actually even might do more than that with the amount of guys that are waiting in the wings here to get their race started here, which would be at around 9 o'clock. Really, our top 4 are looking pretty strong at the moment. I'd say anyone in this top 4 has a solid shot at winning. I'd say more so Lidke and Plord, but still you see Eisman here trying to poke for position through left field. Beautiful sunrise there, heading into Cups. iRacing, we have many complaints about iRacing, but they did a fantastic job on the skybox. That looks absolutely fantastic there. I gotta say, almost a bit too fantastic. You think some of these guys may be blinded heading through there?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, something's like, it's kind of, I don't know. There's the mixed bag. You can run high graphics and look really nice, but then you can also get sun glare, and that can be really, really painful to watch, especially in VR.
Oh yeah, I remember doing VR. I was just running with some friends doing VR, and one of the corners I went through, I got absolutely blinded by the sun. It's a bit too realistic in that way, but as you see Plord and Lidke, I don't know, who do you feel is a bit stronger between these two drivers after the exchange position and still running nose to tail after now going to complete 3 laps?
I think Lidke's going to have to really push here, because it seems like to me that Plord is a little bit more paced, because he's starting to gap Lidke a tiny little bit here. So I would assume that Plord's probably going to try to run away here, and he might actually be successful with this.
He's starting to build that gap up of almost 0.8 of a second, and a lot further apart than when they were early on. And I guess for Plord, I think just doesn't have to make a mistake, really can't afford to make a mistake, because again, they keep breathing down his neck here as they're just about halfway through the race.
Eisenman and Sabelski were side by side through that corner there, and it was getting pretty tight. It looks like they've spaced back out again.
Take a brief look at that as Eisenman was trying to get up to the 12 car. For Sabelski, big lock up there in that tight hairpin of a corner. But Eisenman almost able to get back on, but not quite enough. Again, very tight section of the track. I would probably say that's honestly probably the worst part of the track, in my opinion, just because of how tight it is. A bit hard to build up a run. See now the gap expanding between the two for 3rd place. Actually, also a bit of a closer battle going on in behind. Whoa, you can see Mick Blue way out over the rumble strips and also onto the AstroTurf, and he's got to be a little bit careful there because you could very easily get a cut course.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk about the cut courses at all, but there's definitely some spaces here where you can get a cut course. I mean, one of the spaces is definitely through there in Cops, and then the next one is coming up here on the exit of this next corner.
Yeah, exit of Stowe. It's so tempting, especially in a lower downforce car, to just get on the gas. Whoa, speaking of which, Lidke gonna get on the gas too early, and around he goes out of Stowe.
He's gonna fall way down the order.
Yeah, indeed, he's already starting to drop back to 6th, 7th, 8th, and will continue as he finally gets back out on the track. Will sort himself in 8th ahead of Andrew Mickey. We'll take a look on board. We caught the end of that. Not sure this is too much gas or if he just ended up...
I think he just picked up the throttle a little too early.
Oh, yeah. And just got even the braking tubes is off.
Spin. Pagula.
Pagula's around as well. That is not ideal. It's actually just getting it sorted out. And this is out of the final corner that he had an incident. Wow, and look at Mick Blue go way out to avoid that. We'll get another better look at that. And just got the curb there. And unfortunately, in that part of the track, it's better to stay off of it. You can see him get looped around, but avoided any contact with other drivers, so he'll get back rolling. And for Liedtke now, it's a matter of just trying to gain back positions. Look at this great cluster of cars. We're looking at Brian Hotham, and Mick Blue all up ahead, all the way up to 4th place. And you can bet that Liedtke's got the pace to get around them, but catching's one thing, passing is another.
Ooh, you can see it's getting real close up there with Mick Blue and Brian Hotham.
Yeah, and you got to be concerned when it gets too close. Sometimes drivers might end up getting into each other, and obviously don't hope for that. But Brian Hotham, big mistake through the S. You can see him very off the pace. He's actually going to get some grass and go way wide. And here comes Eric Brown and Drew Liedtke with the run here. Through the hangar straight they go.
That shuffled everybody up because everybody's now looking to try and get past. It looks like Eric Brown has a pretty good run here.
And he's going to peel out to the right side here, heading to Sode. Backs off the corner way too early, though, and you see Liedtke, how much ground he gained. He's not going to get a try a better run, and catches the slide, Eric Brown, and he's able to save it. Get a look at that. Some great driving from these guys. Oh man, he was able to hold on. And I think there was something similar to what we saw with Liedtke is the brakes, which I think I definitely find tricky. I'm not sure about you, Jeff.
Yeah, the brakes are quite finicky because you can get into them pretty hard and they won't lock up, and then as soon as you give them another 5%, they'll completely lock the rear axle, and you can just end up going right around. And especially because they're Porsches, they basically just spin you right around unless you catch them.
Ooh, and we got Brian Hotham off the track and slow. Happened to him here. Heading into Village. Into the loop, I think. Try to set this corner up wide, and you see him go lazily off the track. Also, something happened to Drew Liedtke that put him really far back as well.
Yeah, he's not having a good day. He had another spin as well, I think, on one of the exits of the corner.
Oh yeah, this is actually right after what we looked at here with Eric Brown. Oh yeah, in the final corner, just again, the weight transfer of the car. These cars really tricky things to drive. They really can teach you quite a bit as well, as far as managing the car, because it's so tricky to deal with. It kind of shapes you up to be a pretty solid driver. So for Liedtke, though, you're going to bite him and put him further back into 8th place. And up at the front as well, sorry to cut you off, actually this might not be completely said and done. Last lap by, I should say, Brian Schabelsky made up almost 0.6 of a second on Ryan Plord, and is still making some inroads here on the 74.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Schabelsky's been catching Plord quite a bit here. I'm curious if Plord might be feeling pressure a little bit here, and we'll see what happens.
He's got a decent lead to deal with here as we get the white flag this time by, but you can't rest on your laurels. You still have to push, especially if he ends up making just a small mistake. Is Schabelsky going to catch him at that rate? And over the curve as Plord go, shifting the car back right to left. Then another sweeping left here out of this section. And you also see in this battle, as well as Drew Eisenman, he's a little further back, 0.8 behind Schabelsky, trying to make up some ground. Probably could have used another lap or two.
I'm almost sad that we didn't get another lap, because this is going to be quite a tight top 3 if we did have another one.
Yeah, well, on the bright side with that, right next race is going to be longer, I think about 12 laps apiece, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in that ballpark. And it's going to give these guys a lot of time to work with, especially for race 2 when we have the inverted field. But for now, Ryan Plord halfway through the lap has got to continue on. He's maintained that gap for now as they head through Maggots and Beckett's. Looks like he's good through that section as well. Same thing for Shabelski, although Eisman's been building up that run. Might be, again, just too little too late for the 77.
He's a little bit deep on the brakes there. He's actually gaining a little bit of a run. I don't think it's probably going to be enough, though.
Yeah, I think you figure might as well push them into the last lap. He's also got 6 seconds back to Mick Blue in 4th. But for Ryan Plord through the final few corners here, we're going to be rounding out the last. He will take home the win here at Silverstone. Great drive from the 74, as well as Brian Shabelski will finish in 2nd. How about Eisman coming sliding out of the final corner and across the line to round out the podium for the AM Cup race. Mick Blue going to have to settle for 4th place, and behind Eric Brown in 5th. Ryan Hoffman going to be back in 6th place with Andrew Mickey. He's also worked through the final few corners, and Drew Liedtke probably going to have his head in his hands. Be finishing all the way back in 8th after what could have been potentially a race win. Got Benjamin Pagula coming across the line in 9th. Ryan Danner, he's working through last few corners, had a messy start, but should be ready to go for the next few races at least. I think he definitely learned not to push too hard on the start, especially with the way these guys are coming flying through. Sean Foes, he's ran into some trouble here. Actually, he's just gotten passed by Steve Bunting. Take home 11th. Sean Foes in 12th. And with that, that's going to wrap up your finishing order here for the AM Cup race. Now, again, don't go anywhere, because in a few minutes time we'll take a little bit of a break. We'll get ready for qualifying for the Porsche Supercup, where we combine the AM drivers and the pro drivers that have been waiting in the wings for not 1 but 2 races coming up shortly. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school, go to college, get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams, with a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, They're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona. Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak, despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance.
My father's father had 2 brothers and a sister. His older sister, Hazel, had married a man named Jim Yunker, and he was involved in the bottling business early on, as early as 1906 in Indianapolis, and he sold flavors. He would have had grape, cream soda, blood orange, ginger ale. In 1915, he got the franchise for Coca-Cola in Indianapolis. So then we fast forward 20 years later to 1935, Jim Yunker approached my grandfather and his 2 brothers and said the franchises in Kokomo, Logansport, and Peru are available for sale, and you guys want this. Trust me, you want to get in the Coca-Cola business.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here now for qualifying for the Porsche Super Cup events. Both Race 1 and Race 2 will set the grid for the starting order of Race 1 here. And after a pretty solid AM Cup race with Ryan Plory taking the victory, looking forward to seeing these guys get down to business here with a combined field of almost 20 race cars here flying around Silverstone Circuit. Again, my name is Finity Kona here with... oh boy, I just had a complete blank. Jeff Roy, sorry. I just had a complete lapse in judgment there. Jeff, you know, we saw some pretty interesting stuff here in the AM Cup race. Anything, do you think we'll see something pretty similar? Or do you think now with more cars, the race is going to look completely different?
Well, I think looking at the AM race, I think seeing that there's a bunch of different groups that ended up popping up, I think it might be interesting because a lot of the fast drivers are probably going to be a lot closer in this race. So if that goes any good, then we might actually have a pretty good group that's going to be racing here.
And already the group of drivers out on track putting down some lap times. Zero cut to the track here, looking at Eric Mickey working through Baggett's and Beckett's. And are we a bit surprised we haven't seen more stuff happen through this part of the track? Or are you surprised, or do you kind of expect it to be pretty calm with this car?
Well, I think from what I remember anyways, the high speed stuff isn't that bad. It's normally just like once you start having to brake really late and get into the low speed stuff, like kind of like going from high speed to low speed, then it starts getting really sketchy because the rear end just kind of hops around and does its thing.
Yeah, we just looking at Eric Mickey come through Stowe. We saw a lot of incidents through there, and even down here into the final series of corner through Club. Claiming a few drivers and catching them off guard here, but as Mickey rounds the final corner here, I believe this is to start a lap. He will. Still waiting on these guys to complete a lap. We're just going to cut to break for just a second. I need to make a small adjustment that I forgot to make during the break. We'll be back in a few seconds. Alright, we're back here as we're still seeing some guys working through the lap, and now that we got a much bigger list of drivers to work through, especially some very notable names from this season alone and also from Ferrari Challenge. We saw Ryan Plory do very well in the AM Cup race, but do you think he might have enough for what it takes to get the win here, or do you think it's going to be one of the pros taking it home?
That's a good point. I'm not entirely sure. I would imagine that it might be close. It's tough to say. I'm not really sure. We haven't really seen... I don't actually remember the times in practice. I'm trying to remember, unfortunately, but I don't think I can. I would imagine that Plory can get at least in the top 5, so we'll have to see.
He was looking pretty strong in comparison to some of his other performances this season, so that's anything to go by. Should finish, I would imagine, definitely inside the top 10. And then, as you're saying, in the top 5, definitely also on the tables here. I'm going to check where some of the other drivers are on the track. Currently, it's Watson up ahead. That's heading, or sorry, not Watson, Walker. James Walker in the 97, that's heading to the line. Did phenomenally well when he showed up at Zandvoort. Almost won all 3 races, but wasn't able to quite see the deal with Zach Buchanan that just got one win from that race weekend. Across the line for Walker, going to be sitting on pole. Has put the time to be at 2:04.7 as the rest are coming on through. Ryan Plory up in 3rd place, so showing some pace, but still waiting on some other notable names. Sean Unterkoffler, recently promoted to the pro category, gonna line up in 2nd place as a run. Another notable driver that was promoted, Chris Hudson, gonna follow Unterkoffler. These kind of two guys have been forming a rivalry in the AM category. I've now brought that over to pro. He's gonna line up in 3rd, right in behind the 9. And also quickly too, let's take a look at the difference in lap time. So for James Walker, 2:04.7 to Unterkoffler, a 2:05.5. That's almost 0.8 of a second between 1st and 2nd place.
Yeah, I think Walker put in an absolutely stonker of a lap.
It's insane. It's like looking at the gap between Mercedes and Red Bull right there.
True.
which are ironically at Silverstone last weekend, will be here this weekend. Hopefully, Red Bull can figure out something to beat Mercedes.
Hopefully.
Also, another quick time. We saw brother of Colin Daner, Ryan Daner, participating in the M race. We got Colin Daner this time around for the pro race. He's going to be in both events. For Daner, up into 5th place, and he was a pretty fast driver. He was notably in the Washington region, the Washington DC region, SCCA, their GT3 series that also came to this round, and was a really fast driver. Lacked the consistency in some places, but had some really good pace. And showing that here in the top 5, considering a lot of these drivers have been here for a while running this car, so really fast, and also has got an interesting helmet to say the least in that car. Got Pepe the Frog on the helmet, and a nice fire suit too. He's literally got a suit on in the car. And for Daner, he comes across the line here as he's working through the final corner. For Daner, it'll be 205.5. I'll put him up into 3rd. Oop, just now back to 4th. As another fast time by, I think that was Chris Hudson that put in a faster time up into 2nd place again. Actually, he's surpassed Undercoffer from 2nd.
Yeah, Walker actually put in another fastest lap. So he's again 0.7 ahead of P2.
One thing I'm seeing interesting here is, I don't know if this is going to show up on the screen. Indeed, it actually did. So this is Eric Mickey. He's not been registered to have a time just yet. That being said, his time 205 flat. That would essentially put him 2nd place, but it wasn't a clean lap.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to say it was a 0.041. P2 was a 0.042, which is absolutely insane. So I mean, I think we're going to see the same thing as first qualifying here, where we had very, very close times in certain cases here.
Yeah, I am a bit concerned for Eric, though, because this is, as he's coming back to the start-finish line, he's halfway through the lap. When he comes back on through, he's not going to have enough time to put a 2nd lap now, so he's got to make sure that this lap counts, and otherwise he's going to be starting way in the back in the order, and I'm sure, Jeff, you can talk from experience in this series. You do not want to be starting from the back of the pack.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a really tough time to try and get from the back of the field up to the front. And especially just because the time that you have 12 laps to do it. And I mean, that's only like 25 minutes. I mean, that's extremely tough.
For Eric Mickey working through still here, looking to see if the 88 machine can put in a clean lap. He's definitely got the pace, but has not been a clean or valid lap here as he works through club and the final few corners. Yeah, this time's going to count. We should expect to see him somewhere in the top 3. If the lap was good enough, and out of the final corner for Eric Mickey across the line, what's it gonna be? 205.2, that'll be good enough for 4th place for the 88. Looks like Mickey's gonna call it a run there because not enough time to put down another lap in for Chris Hudson. He's closed that gap down a lot less than it was before. For Chris Hudson, it was a 204.8, as Carter Cunningham just put in a pretty solid lap and a flyer at that. Almost took pole away with a 204.396, but Chris Walker going to hang on to it with a 204.344. Cunningham was only 0.05 off.
Yeah, it's really close. That's going to be, man, if they keep that up, that's going to be a battle.
Yeah, and so they're separated from Chris Hudson by 0.4 of a second, which is a really large gap, considering that's only 2nd or 3rd, but I'm at least glad to see we got someone that could try to take it to James Walker in the race. So Carter Cunningham also came in with some new colors. They've switched over from the red and gray to blue and white. Very nice paint schemes, looking really good on those cars as qualifying is just about to complete. So after looking at qualifying, interesting session there, and looking to be a little less cut and dry. We've seen in the past that it was, especially at Zandvoort, James Walker took it away from everyone else. No one else was quite able to compete with him. He struggled. I wouldn't even say he really truly struggled in the invert in race 2. Made it all the way back up to 2nd, just didn't have enough time. Do you think he's going to be definitely the one to sweep both races? And we get down to gridding here for the first of 2 races here at Silverstone Circuit. Go through your starting lineup. We were just covering it here. Your pole sitter going to be James Walker in the 97 very fast car, with Carter Cundinger lining up in the 02 in second place. Moving on back to row number 2 is going to be Chris Hudson lineup in third in the 43. Sean Unterkoffler in fourth. Eric Mickey in fifth. Drew Lidke lined up in 6th position. Colin Danner going to cycle back to 7th after he was inside the top 5 at the beginning of qualifying. Mick Blue going to be lined up in 8th. Cal Edwards Lamb going to be lined up in 9th. Ryan Pleward, Am Cup race winner, is going to line up in 10th place. I'll let the rest of the grid scroll across the bottom of your screen here as we get ready to roll on through. Do you think with more cars, do you think that turn 1's going to be more interesting? Or do you think we're actually going to see a more of a spread out start like we saw?
Well, the thing is with this one, I didn't realize actually in the first race, the way that you start is you go around that last corner. Because it's so tight, usually the P1 car can get a really good run off of that corner if they play it right. So I would imagine that the P1 car might get away, but I don't think that the rest of the field will. So they might get really tight.
You could see some drama in the last corner. We saw Ryan Nader go sliding off in the final corner, trying to keep up the pace here. We'll see if these guys, if maybe the Evans have stepped in here to have them wait here at the start if they're allowed to go when they want. We'll keep an eye on James Walker here. They're heading through the final corner. Looks like he's not completely gassed it up. Now he finally does here as we get ready for the green here at Silverstone.
Ooh, it's almost 3 wide in the middle there. And there's a touch. Oh, there's drama.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely drama as you see Sean Unterkoffler off the track with, is that Eric Mickey or Andrew Mickey? Looks to be Andrew Mickey in the 86 here off the track, but back up in front, James Walker and Connor Cundinger immediately going at it through the loop and through the first sector of track, leaning green for the most part.
Oh, there's another car off, Eric Mickey.
Oh, and Eric Mickey, yeah, sideways, you can see the smoke, and I think just looped it around. He's going to get that car rolling away, but not a good start for Bombshell Motorsports that find themselves 16th and 19th after the first series of corners. And the rest of these cars file on through. James Walker and Cundinger have checked out. Already 1.2 seconds between themselves and the rest of the field. Chris Hudson by himself pretty much alone in third. Looking back, Colin Dana with a fantastic start has moved his way up from 7th place to 5th, looking at 4th, and even Pleward for that matter as well. He started back in 10th, is up into 4th. How about that? Got the 78 and the 121 of Drew Lidke to deal with. And we saw Lidke and Pleward going at it in the Amp Cup race for the win the first few laps. For Lidke, the consistency just wasn't there. We'll see if he learned anything that brings it into race 1 here. And everyone falling through Stowe for the first time, and also noticing too some big gaps as you go through the field.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of done the thing in the first race where there's some gap, and then there's some groups. So I'd be curious how this turns out. I mean, there's some people that are in the middle of the gaps, and I'd be curious if they maybe catch up to the people ahead or fall behind. So I think we'll get some more racing soon, though.
And definitely the race up at the front still really close between these two guys, Walker and Cundinger. We have to keep an eye as the race unfolds. Looking back at Lidke, though, trying to chase his way down to Colin Daner here as they work through the first sector. Great run for Lidke down into Village, got to the back bumper of the 78 car, and then through the loop they go very tight. You can see pretty much a hairpin and getting back on the gas here. And this is actually where we saw Eric Mickey run into some trouble. And I think I'll wait till after the race to go look at the first lap. I don't want to pull away because we're definitely probably going to miss something if we do that. Notably, Andrew Mickey is he's pulling into the pits recently. I think it might be calling it a race 1 already for the 86.
Yeah, he's been in the pits for quite a while too.
With that update, also Brian Shabelski finding himself back down the order. I think was involved in what happened in turn 1. Went back from 12th to 18th, so not been a particularly good race after finishing second in the AM Cup race. I think we just saw Brian Hotham, I think, had an incident here into Cops. And on the curbs he got, oh, and was able to lock it down. Great save. Looking at the battle for the leader between our leaders, it's actually slowly started to separate out between Kundinger and Walker. And you think for Kundinger, you think he might be trying to save his tires, or you think that this is all he's got?
It's tough to say. I think sometimes you can have the thing where so it looks like he missed his apex there. It looks like like sometimes you can have a thing where it is a struggle to warm up the tires, then you can start losing pace that way, but then you can gain it back later because you kind of warm up the tires better than the guy ahead. But that's mostly, you'll start to see it in a little bit, but it does look like that he's just kind of not being able to control the car right now. It's like he's kind of struggling and just not really being able to hit his apexes at all.
Yeah, and actually lost almost another second by himself at the time we've been looking at him, so he's struggling to keep up the pace of the 97 that James Walker's been able to consistently hold, and that's really the big part. You know, it's easy being fast for, you know, just one lap in qualifying, but to carry that speed throughout a run is a lot more difficult to pull off. Looking at Colin Daner and Ryan Plord side by side here, heading down to Cops. This is a drag race.
I really hope they don't go side by side in the Cops. That would be brutal.
It looks like Colin is going to back off of that here for now. Oh, he's actually going to just throw it up the inside. Late braking maneuver. And going to force Plur to go out wide. That cost him a lot of time. Here comes Drew Lidke in the background. He's got a massive run on both these cars.
Oh, that was close to a touch.
Yeah, it really was. As Colin Daner had to back out, Plurd's going to snake his way on through, but it's now a three-way battle for fourth place.
See who gets the better run on here. It looks like Colin's got a pretty good run. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get deplored, but he might.
Yeah, we saw him throw in a late dive maneuver heading into Cops. I don't quite think he's close enough into Stowe. Gonna get aggressive on the brakes. Almost looks up the inside, but Plurd's gonna slam the door shut.
Meanwhile, up ahead, looks like Chris and Carter, I think, are getting into it. I'm not sure. I think Carter might have had a little bit of a moment somewhere here.
Yeah, and it's Chris Hudson right in behind his teammate. So as Kundinger has lost now 3 seconds since the last time we saw him, so something definitely happened to the 0-2. Oh, just as I was pulling away in the background, Drew Lidke around out of the final corner. For Lidke, it's been a struggle just trying to keep this car going straight in the right direction.
It's like he just clipped the inside curb and just sent him around.
Yeah, and just lost grip for a second, but that's all it takes. Able to keep it off the wall, but back to 11th for Lidke after running in 6th. Yeah, looking back up at Carter Kundinger and Chris Hudson, looks like Kundinger is starting to get back away from his teammate in 3rd place. Meanwhile, behind, Plord and Daner still close as ever. Don't think this battle is quite done just yet. Out of left field, a poor run for Daner, gets a bit on the grass. Also noting some other battles going further on back with Eisenman Morelli and Kyle Edwards Lamb in 7th, 8th, and 9th place respectively. So for Morelli, a little bit of a shake here, just trying to size up Eisenman. Just how important is that run out of Cops?
It's, you know, out of Cops, it's not too bad. Normally you can get away with it, but it's just through here, through the S's section, where you can start getting some pretty big penalties, especially if you don't get a good exit here, just because you hit the guy behind, like here, you can get a pretty good run.
Go in behind. There's Kyle Edwards-Lamb. Not a good enough run for him, but for Morelli, trying to size up Eisenman. Going to peel off to the right side. Going to try to outbrake the 77. Got to be careful because the brakes were really tricky. We've seen a few drivers loop it around, almost making contact as well, but not able to get the job done. Up ahead of them, Eric Brown completely missing club, and it cost him a lot of time. Look at the poor section he had, and now Eisenman and company all over the back of him. Eric Brown started in 14th all the way up in the 6th, so it's been a really good day for the 56. We'll see if he can hold on to it, though, because he's got quite a bit of company waiting to take that spot. Oh, and there you see him behind.
Loose.
Morelli loose and gonna almost slam right in front of Eric Brown, who does a great job narrowly avoiding Morelli, but that stacked them all up here as they're side by side now coming out of the first sector. It's gonna be Eisenman that holds off Edwards-Lamb, but Lamb now gonna have a run down the straightaway.
That was close. That was probably the closest that I've seen without a net code.
Yeah, I'm amazed that he was able to avoid that there. We'll take a quick look here. We'll keep on board with Lamb to see if he can get the job done. I'm really scared to pull away because these guys are really close together. See Leaky in the background trying to recover from his spin earlier out of the final corner. See him also cut that corner of the what used to be the old front straightaway. Run out of cops here. We'll watch them go through Maggots and Beckett's, and then we'll take a look at the replay. The Edwards-Lamb trying to force the issue here to Eisenman. Gonna have to back up here a little bit and then set up the run down the straight. You see Eisenman really sideways and out of line. Here comes Lamb with the run.
Yeah, he's gonna get him early though. He's not really gonna get much of a draft.
We try to get just a little bit of side draft. Not exactly sure how effective it is in a Porsche GT3 Cup car, but will slide his way on through. Eisenman not done yet. Still trying to fight on the outside. Going to go a little bit wide. Watch the cut course.
Came out of nowhere up ahead.
That would be called. Whoa! In behind, Licky going to slam into Kyle Edwards-Lamb, man. That's big damage to both those cars. Oh, watch what happened here. And actually, so you can see Colin Dana just off to the side. He's going to come back on track, but this is what we're watching here under braking. Eisenman just got loose under braking. We seem to be difficult for a few guys. He's going to nail Edwards-Lamb. We'll take a look at Colin Dana because he was off for an adventure. What happened to Dana? A loose, lazy spin was side by side with Ryan Ploy. They were going at it for 4th place, and Rex is back on course. And I guess now might as well try to take a look at what happened earlier in the lap, where Eric Brown pretty much almost ended his race, or had his race almost ended, I should say, by Nicholas Morelli. Gonna see how close it was. There you see Morelli sideways in the background, and just gonna slide in front of Eric Brown. I gotta get an onboard of that. And there's a race car.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that is. I'm gonna take another look at that.
A jump scare.
This is from just aboard. That I can't. That is insane. And you can see even here with the wider angle, you can't see him till the last second. Oh man, I hope someone makes a GIF out of that, or something, because that is insane. And great on great on Eric Brown. I'm not sure if he knew that Morelli was spinning and did that to counter, but
a little bit wide. So I'd be curious. He did kind of look like it.
My heart rate went up from watching that. I was the one. I can imagine what Brown thought as he had a car come sliding in front of him.
It's like back in the field, Eric Mickey's trying to make a move on Nick Lou.
Yeah, and after his struggles at the start of this race, not a good opening lap, went back all the way to 16th, is up into 11th. Has got Edwards-Lamb and, is, as you're saying, dealing with Mick Blue up ahead for 10th.
Oh, a little bit of tap.
Just a little bit of a warning shot, I guess, before Mickey tries to catch back up. And again, I would say Mickey the faster car, or Eric Mickey the faster car between himself and Mick Blue, but I'm sure Mick Blue doesn't really care about that. He's going to try to defend Eric Mickey and keep him behind in 11th. We'll see here as Mickey's got a great run through turn 2. Gonna have a look into Village? Not quite. You can also see Sean Unterkoffer up there just ahead in the yellow and black car as Mick Blue gets sideways here. Down the straightaway, Eric Mickey's got the run.
It's a tough corner to go around the outside.
Yeah, indeed it is, but if you can stick it there, you can be on the right side into a right-hand corner right here through left field, but wasn't able to do. He's going to go back to the outside again. Try to get a run. He's got it. Barely. Not quite.
Yeah, Mick Blue really placed his car well in the corners because he basically put the car where Mickey couldn't get a run on him.
Mickey going to size him up into cops, going to back out, make Mick Blue go defensive here. He's going to get a run now, going to try to get the move done before Maggots and Beckett's, but they're equalizing out here side by side into the S's.
Oh, he's going to try to keep going. It looks like, ooh, there it is.
Oh, and a touch from both these guys. Two cars going off the track. Mick Blue goes around, and I think was able to avoid Kyle Edwards-Lamb, but you were talking about it earlier, these guys getting close to sideways, and if you head through there, and we just saw right there what happens when you try to go side by side through Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, I think it's way too, it's just really tight. Yeah, as you can see, they both get together. I think they're both trying to go for the apex because they know if they can't get to the apex, then they're going to go wide, especially on the exit of that corner.
Look from Kyle Edwards-Lamb, his point of view. Oh man, did a great job on the.
Oh,
That's some great wreck avoidance there. Sideways on the brakes in this car is almost a death sentence, and he somehow managed to keep it still going in the right direction, and he's going to hold on to 10th place still after what could have been a race-ending incident. Looking up ahead, nothing much has changed. James Walker is still driving away from the rest of the field. He's actually got a lap car ahead of him. He was Steve. Oh, that's not Steve Bunting. That's Bunting having a bit of an incident himself coming out of the final corner. Here's Race Clark in the 22, so he was designated to start here in the pro race. Ended up showing off the AM race by mistake. But for back to James Walker, what a drive.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, he's basically gone. There's really nothing that anybody can do. I mean, if he half spins anywhere, it's not really going to matter a huge amount. He really just has to kind of drive safely for the rest of the race, and he's good.
He's got a massive gap to work with 8 seconds back to Carter Kundinger. Can pretty much coast the next 5 laps, or 4 laps here, as he's going to come back across the line. Carter Kundinger trying to chase him back down, but the pace, unfortunately for Carter, just quite wasn't there.
So there's actually, it looks like there's a couple battles going on here, and I'm kind of interested. I think Chris Hudson might actually be catching Kundinger a little bit. There's also, I believe, what was it? Where was it? Oh yeah, Eric Brown and Morelli are actually going at it quite hard right now as well.
Yeah, you can see them defending down as they both head into Stowe. Brown trying to hold off Morelli from behind. Ironically enough, Morelli was the one that almost took out Eric Brown. You're watching that replay. Came sliding across in front of him. I think he's going to try to do a slide job again, but actually try to keep the position, as he's going to try to get a run here out of the final few corners. He's definitely looking to be faster than that 56 at the moment. Whoa, no, but he gets sideways out of the final corner, locks the brakes down, but loses all that he gained back on the 56. That's going to kind of cycle that battle out. Not to Colin Dana, we saw him with his ride as he was battling with Plord through Stowe, went flying off the track into the grass. He's driven himself back up to the back bumper of the 74 machine. Looking at Ryan Plord again, our AM Cup winner. Trying to hold on, and you're talking about him where he would be placed, and you were saying Jeff, he would be in the top 5. He's still there in 4th, trying to hold off 5th.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see. It does look like Colin's able to catch him every single time, even though when he loses it, he gets really sideways through there, Colin does, but I mean, I think it does seem like Cullen has a little bit more pace than Plord, but we're going to have to see. I think Plord's also got some good defense right now.
Yeah, with the way Colin's taking these corners, do you think he's overdriving the car, or do you think he's just pushing it to its limits?
Oh, I would say he's probably overdriving it there a little bit, especially because he's getting sideways on the exit.
That takes some serious driver skill too. Want to just point that out, to drive the car sideways. Oh, as Plord going wide in, the S is going to try to hold off Colin Dana. He's not going to work around the outside. He goes way off of line, and they're going to be side by side here down the hanger straight. And actually, Dana going to get the spot done. How about that?
Yeah, it was really close. They got a little bit of a tap in the middle of the corner, and it looks like Cullen almost lost it there.
As they come on to Stowe, it's going to be Plord that's still in behind Dana. We'll quickly take a look. I want to see how that looked from Dana's point of view. I want to go a little bit further back. For Plord, yeah, just braked in way too late. You can see how late he got onto braking. Dana set up the S is beautifully going to just go to the left side of the track. Get back on the throttle and we'll clear the 74. Textbook move for the 78. Trying to look at some other battles going on the track while that's battle starting to dissipate. John Undercuffler trying to catch back up to Morelli. Whoa! Speaking of Morelli, round he went.
He's not having a good day either.
No, it's unfortunate because the pace definitely seems to be there, but the consistency and keeping the car on track is where Morelli's struggling with it. This is through turn 1. Went off wide, got on some grass, just couldn't save the car.
Yeah, he got really loose on entry. It looks like those curbs on entry might have thrown him off a little bit, and he just started drifting.
Here's another look here. The car sideways just a little bit and off the track he went. For Morelli, that's going to drop him all the way back to 10th place. Dealing with Ryan Hoffman in behind. Trying to catch up to... Whoa! And a car up ahead spawned. I believe that's Sean Foes in the 10 car. Lap down. Gonna get the car straight... try to get the car back straight in the right direction. The battle that seems to be brewing as well further back is between Race Clark and Mick Blue, all the way for 15th place. For Race Clark, been a pretty standard day from 19th to 16th, so it's more or less remain near the back of the pack. Whoa, you hear him also gassing up a bit too early into Cop sideways. Actually, looking. What you're saying?
Sorry, I'm curious if the tires. I've been looking around a little bit, and it seems like everybody's kind of getting a little bit loose on the exits here. So I'm curious if people, like especially the people who are fighting, like Plord and Cullen, it seems like they're all getting quite loose in the exit. So I'd be curious if maybe the tires are starting to drop off here a little bit.
Now, looking at this battle, just about to go back to it. These guys have not completely gotten separated. Plord still pushing the issue here, has a chance of getting 4th spot back. And if you're Plord, we're near the end of the race. Is it worth that one extra spot? Worth potentially getting into an incident going to the second race?
You know, I'd say if you do it right, you really probably shouldn't get into an incident. You know, like you should, if there's an opportunity, don't be scared to take it, but at the same time, if it's risky, don't do it. That's what I'd say.
No, and there definitely are some corners you're talking about, you know, Maggots and Beckett's, typically a place you don't necessarily want to initiate a pass through, as we saw earlier. But, you know, I guess when push comes to shove, we'll have to see what these guys do, especially considering how hard Dana has been pushing it. And that was the thing we were talking about when we saw him sideways out of some of these corners, like Cops here as he's heading through. That might be a bit of concern. There's a little bit more planted through there. I think he might have backed it off here as we're really close to the end of the race. A lap and a half to go for these guys, but for James Walker, a 10-second lead between himself and Kundinger.
Yeah, it's only been growing every single lap too. I mean, there really isn't much to say about it. It's just been, I mean, I think the lap times, you can see the last lap for Walker was a 205.219, whereas Kundinger had a 205.877, so it's a pretty sizable difference there.
And again, I'm curious to see if Cunningham may try to find something out for race number 2 here when we invert the field. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We pretty much invert the entirety of the field. The entire top 16 is going to get inverted back to front. Walker here works through the first few corners with the white flag in the air. Go back again to the battle between Colin Daner and Ryan Ployer, one of the closest battles on the track at the moment. Actually, also been behind these guys is Drew Litke, and how about this? He's had a wild day. The starting position doesn't, and the starting finish currently running position don't do that justice.
Yeah, no kidding. He's been up and down the field pretty much the entire day. He's been, I wouldn't say I don't know. I don't, it's just been all over the place, really. I don't know whether to say he was struggling or he's doing really good. But
yeah, I was going to say, you can't really say it's a good day or a bad day. It's just pretty much a day. Ooh, as I see a puff of smoke?
I believe that was a lap car. I could be wrong. Oh yeah, it was Andrew Mickey.
Oh yeah, and he's talking about having a bad day. That's definitely been the case with Andrew Mickey. Unfortunately, too, he's too low down the order. He's back in 18, so he wouldn't even benefit from the invert. At least I don't think he will. He just got sideways entering the straightaway, and around he went. Looking back at Daner and Ployer as they come through comps, I don't think Ployer can really make up the ground here. I think he's going to have to settle for 5th place as they run, but as we head up towards Stowe, James Walker here approaching the final few corners. Fantastic run for the 97 and potentially looking at getting 2 in a row here if he can seal the deal in race number 2. But for now, race 1 through the final few corners, through club he will go. As a checker flag, you can see waving in the air. Back on the gas from the 97, he will win race number 1 in the Porsche Super Cup. Great job indeed for Carter Cunningham. He's going to be coming out of the final corner now, 10 seconds behind. Going to finish solidly in 2nd place. For the 02 machine, Chris Hudson, you can see in the background, his teammate going to round out 3rd, and 2nd and 3rd for Can-Am Racing. Colin Daner, fantastic drive from the 78 to push himself all the way up into 4th place and holding off Ryan Ployer, who will have to settle for 5th. Drew Lidke, it's been an interesting day for him. We'll see what he can do in the next race, but 6th place for him in race number 1. Eric Brown and Sean Unterkufler to the line, nose to tail. Brown's going to settle for 7th place, Unterkufler in 8th. Kyle Edwards-Lamb has been a wild day for him in 9th place, and Eric Mickey will round out your top 10 here. Oh man, that was definitely some great racing. This track definitely puts on quite a bit of a show, which really is going to make the next race, I think, all that more interesting when we invert the field.
Yeah, I think the pressure's on for all the drivers who get basically put back in the invert. They're all going to have to really, really push hard to get through the field, especially because there's passing opportunities, because you can talk about all those slow corners, but at the same time, like, you're just really going to have to push, and that's really one of the spots where you can get a mistake in this car. It's very, very easy to lock up under braking or spin.
Yeah, we saw guys like Colin Daner do a really good job of being able to push. He was a bit sideways in some of the corners, but he was able to hang on to it, and if he can push and still hang on to the car, I mean, that's you're working yourself pretty well. I'm interested to see now with Daner, he's going to be starting further back down the order, how that's going to play out for him. And I think with that, we're not going to cut to break here, because I do want to go back to the start. We never were quite able to go back to that. So while we got some time between the end of this race and the start of the next, we'll try to take a look here at the starting incident. Okay. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who was the Charlie Sucker around. It was Sean Unterkufler here. And Alright, here we go for the replay. Watching these guys here head through turn 1, and it looks like Unterkufler got just... I'm not sure if he went too far in on Mickey, or if Mickey came too much on him. Here's we can get a better look at that. From Drew Lidke's on board in behind.
It does look like Eric was pretty tight in the apex there. He could have, the only really thing he could have done is maybe gotten on the sausage a little bit more, but
Yeah, it gets kind of tricky when you talk about, who's, got the corner, who's pushing a little bit too much. It is a tight corner in general, turn one. Let's see a bit from here on the top. Yeah, I think Undercover could have probably given him some more space, and then off the back of Mickey, you see a few more guys go sideways. Also, Brian Shabelsky, and I was wondering how Shabelsky got to the back of the order, and also got there from this incident. I think he was involved in something else. Oh, he got into Andrew Mickey, and that's how he got sent into the gravel trap. And I think with that, we're gonna just cut to a commercial break here to get ready to set the order for race number 2. We got a little bit of a break for the drivers, and we'll take a little bit of a break ourselves. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for the start of the Porsche Super Cup Race 2. And we're back here at Silverstone now for race number 2, and we saw race 1 be pretty interesting. Some great passing, some great battles on the track as well, as we now just about come down to the track to set the order here for race 2 with a 16 car invert. We got Steve Bunting here. He's going to be lined up on pole position. Race Clark in second. We find James Walker and Carter Cunner 16th and 15th respectively here. This is gonna be a wild one, Jeff. I know you definitely have your thoughts on the inverts and it being really chaotic. And as a driver, I can only imagine how terrifying it is to be up near the front and now starting in the back.
Yeah, it's a really tough position to be in, especially when you're the faster driver, because you could either risk it and risk also getting a penalty, or you could go for it and. Well, actually, that's not true. You could probably, like, there's the dynamic there. You have to play it safe and not get a penalty, or you can get a penalty, but risk trying to get a penalty, I should say. But it's very tough to do.
Yeah, let the first few rows go across the bottom of your screen here as we work through the final few corners and get ready to go. The pace car is off and away. It's going to give the control of the field to Steve Bunting here. Curious to see when he's going to send off and away. You see these guys pretty much out of the final corner. Gas it up and get going. We'll see if Bunting decides to wait here. Nope, it's going to be the gas for the 83. Out of the final corner, he will come, and green flag out in the air for race 2 here at Silverstone.
Ooh, Bunting's already gone a little bit wide.
You can see him off the track to the right here as we head down to Village for the first time. The field pretty orderly and spread out after the early start. See Bunting finally come back into the track, almost gets into either Kundinger or Chris Hudson. He actually parks it. Might have stole it as well, finally gets it back going. But for everyone else working through the first few corners, I think something's happened to Chris Hudson. Or was it Ryan Plore that's around? Oh no.
I missed what happened to him. I believe it looks like he got in a little bit of a gaggle in the middle there and just tried to gas it out and couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's just really tough to get out of that section of track, especially with the cold tires. You got to consider that as well on lap 1. You need to get back on the throttle, but got back on too hard, and around he went. So for Ryan Plord, back in 18th for him. Up in front is Drew Eisman that's going to take control of the race. Brian Shabelski sitting back in second. Nicholas Morelli in third, and Eric Mickey in fourth. And for Eric Mickey, this is a chance to really get some good points, if not a race win here. As Morelli goes off the track, here comes Mickey, side by side.
Oh, I hope we don't see a repeat. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope he learned his lesson, because I'm sure he wouldn't want to do that again. Oh, and in behind them! Oh, big contact with Hotham, and I think that was Kyle Edwards-Lamb. And he got shoved off the track by Eric Mickey, if I'm not mistaken, in the last race through the S's, and this time it looks like Hotham might have gotten into him here.
Oh, I think he just narrowly missed him. Looks like he was really close. I don't think Lamb has any damage.
Oh, man. Yeah, and undercover Edwards-Lamb went off the track to avoid it. Did a great job of doing so. Still lost quite a few positions back in for the 42.
Ooh, up ahead, Morelli went a little bit wide. Somebody else is getting a little bit loose. Looks like Eric Mickey.
Mickey looks like he's able to hold on to it, but in behind for third place, Morelli trying to hold off Sean Unterkopfler here in the 9 machine. Unterkopfler, he's one of those drivers that he's been really fast. This has been struggling to get some really good finishes in. Gonna make a deep dive into Village. Gonna barely slow the car up enough and almost make contact with Morelli. Almost coming to contact again as Morelli gonna force the 9 wide, and he will clear him for third. A big slide out of Morelli as well, so he's struggling in that car to keep up the pace. Undercuffler pushing the issue here. Ooh, and Undercuffler, you can see him trying to almost have a look into the inside now into Luffield. Couldn't get it done, but now you see Eric Mickey in the background as well. And if you're in Mickey's position, what do you do?
You know, really the only sensible thing you can do is kind of just wait it out. Because if you send it, then things are going to go pretty badly. So you got to either send it around both of them, or you got to just wait.
It's like for Mickey, he's going to wait here. We'll see. He's got a decent run here heading to Maggots and Beckett's, but he's going to back out. He wouldn't be able to clear in time. And looking at some drivers that have moved up through the order, man, Colin Daner on a roll from up into 7th place already, started back in 13th.
It does look like, I think James Walker is really struggling here. It looks like he's trying to get through the field and just doesn't have good runs right now.
Yeah, you can see Carter Cundinger finished 2nd in the last race, started in 15th, is up into 6th. I see up ahead Sean Unterkuffler duking and diving to make some moves on Morelli. And can't quite get it done. This top 5 all still pretty close together. And now you see them heading into Clovier. Side by side. But yeah, we were just talking about... Sorry, you're saying?
That was... Eric Mick got really close into the back of the number 9 car there in exit.
Yeah, you were talking also just before we were looking at that battle. James Walker started in 16th, only up into 9th. And again, he's a relatively new driver to this series. Again, he's got some really solid pace, but I think this format is kind of doing him in, at least for now, because it does take a whole different mindset starting from the back, working your way to the front. And even though you have the pace, it's all about traffic management and making passes and getting them done efficiently.
Yeah, I would definitely say that there's just a big difference between lap times and trying to manage traffic, because managing traffic is just so much more difficult. You have to really be able to predict everybody else and what they're doing and be able to just get around a whole bunch of cars as fast as you can.
Speaking of cars getting around, you see Morelli and Unterkuffler make a dive there, looking at a replay of how Brian Schabelsky got put back into 4th. He's actually just now gotten back into 5th place as Mickey goes around him. Here comes Carter Cundinger as well with the run. And how about Carter Cundinger? Great run for him. And again, he's experienced with working through the field, and that's coming into advantage here in comparison to Walker, as he flies on by Schabelsky for 6th place and now has to work on Eric Mickey. And Mickey is going to be a lot harder to work with. Up in front, it's still Drew Eisenman by about 0.8 of a second. He's just trying to pace himself, I think, with everyone else. Arguably a faster driver in behind, chasing him on down. Unterkuffler, great run out of Maggots and Beckett's here. Is it enough for a move? He's going to look left into Stowe.
It's very difficult to go around the outside, but we'll see.
He's going to be braver on the brakes, and it looks like Morelli's going to snake his way on by. Unterkuffler not able to carry enough speed on the outside. Also in behind, you see a cluster of drivers. There's James Walker in the 97. Got Colin Daner, and then Brian Schabelsky in front, 7th and 6th. There's also Drew Lidkey back in 9th place, and for Lidkey, starting 11th is up into 9th, so decent move forward for the 121. But our top 9 drivers all within 4 seconds. I can't really explain how close that is. You can pretty much see it on the track as you see them getting bunched up here. Now Walker gonna pinch Schabelsky to the apex, gonna try to work around the outside. It's a hard thing to do. Walker now gonna try to gas it up. Schabelsky gonna have to back off, and now that's allowing Lidkey to work on by as well. So Schabelsky back to 9th. Well, Morelli out into the marbles, and around he will go out wide in Brooklands, and that's going to cycle him all the way back out at 10th place. Let's take a look at what happened to him.
Looks like he got the brakes a little too hard and the rear axle locked up. I don't even think he touched the curb.
Yeah, oh, he just sent it in way too deep flash for a little bit, but we're going to see the damage he really did there, and that's going to take him out of the order for a chance to win the race. Now looking at our top 4, look at this. Nose to tail all together.
Yeah, Cundinger's thinking he's got to get through here without actually getting in any incidents, and it's going to be quite a difficult task because they're all battling.
Navigating through the S's. All making on through on one piece. Eric Mickey, though, with a really solid run. Doesn't look like it's going to be quite good enough. Unterkuffler, meanwhile, great run on Eisenman. Is it enough to make a dive? There he goes for the look out right. Big dive to the inside of the 77 will clear him. No, he spins around too deep for Unterkuffler.
Oh, everybody avoids him.
We'll end up in the grass. He'll get that car righted back in the right direction as Carter Cundinger now making a move on Drew Eisenman, and he will move his way up into 2nd place. Here comes Colin Danner as well. He's been taking advantage of the scuffle up in front, has worked his way up in a fourth. Still got James Walker in behind though to deal with. Walker's been slowly but surely moving his way through the order.
He actually doesn't have that much of a gap to Carter anymore. I'd be curious if, because of his pace, he might actually be able to get him at the end of the race here.
Yeah, and that's the big concern. Whoa, as you see Walker diving up the inside of Danner, trying to force him out of the way. He's getting desperate now. He knows he needs to be aggressive. You can't be Mr. Nice Guy. Both of them gassing it up here, and neither one giving an inch.
Yeah, I think he's got the inside. It looks like he's probably going to get it, but we'll have to see.
Drag race down into Brooklands. Who is going to be braver and deeper on the brakes? Gonna be Walker up the inside, and we'll get the spot from Danner. We also just saw in the background too, Brian Chabelski had a little bit of a spin coming onto the straightaway here, and just sent the car in too deep. You saw him even sideways before the exit of the corner. Back up front, you can already see the lead that Carter Cunningham is trying to put to the rest of the field and keep up with Eric Mickey in front, who's now setting the pace. Mickey trying to see if he can get home the race win. Most of them behind Drew Lidke. I want to say something, but I feel like I'm going to jinx him. But having a solid run this race and now looking at Colin Danner for 5th place. Yeah, up from 11th to 6th place for the 121.
Cundinger's putting some moves on Eric Mickey.
I already caught back up to him now, just under half a second, and closing every single moment. And in the background as well, you can see James Walker. He's trying to work on Drew Eisenman on the front straightaway now. I could have a look to the inside into Abbey, and we'll get the move done. Forcing 77 wide, and there you see Colin Danner now trying to size up Drew Eisenman. He's going to have a look to the right into Village.
Oh.
I gassed it up too early. He's still going to be alongside. They're going to have to work around the outside of the corner. Don't think it's going to be quite enough to be alongside, and it almost gets passed by Lidke in the process. Running on board with Colin here, sitting in 5th place, trying to look at 4th. Thought he was going to peel out wide to make a move. Oh, very late move to the inside of Eisenman.
Saw the opportunity. Looks like Eisenman went a little bit wide on the apex.
I'm sure Eisenman was probably caught off guard there. Very late move. That's always risky doing something like that.
Man, they're nearly bumping each other.
Danner fighting aggressively, but fighting aggressively will get you the spots. Might not make you friends, but at least have more track position. As Danner works to the inside into Cops, will seal the deal.
Now, what can Lidke do? Looks like he might try to go to the inside.
Oh, almost had to look into Maggots and Beckett's there. And this is just a matter of having some rhythm through this section. You want to set yourself up for the straightaway here, heading down to Stowe. But Lidke not quite a good enough run to keep in touch.
Yeah, he's going to get the draft. I think he'll probably get there. But
up ahead, Carter Cundinger's got a great move to the inside of Eric Mickey heading into Stowe. It looks like Mickey's going to try to fight on the outside. He's going to barely be there, not enough. Maybe they'll have a look down here into Club. Is still going to look out to the left side of the track. Not enough. Carter Cundinger will take the lead. Quick glimpse back at that and how Carter was able to pull that off. For Mickey had a really poor run out of Maggots and Beckett's, and Carter Cundinger already a few miles an hour faster, peels off to the right side. Both these cars are established alongside before they even get to Stowe Corners. So great job by Carter Cundinger to get the lead. Behind Chris Hudson working on Drew Eisenman now. Eisenman's been slowly trickling down the order, but you will see Hudson some internet issues for him. It's actually really bad. I'm curious if he might be asked to go off the track the way he's flashing almost every other second.
Yeah, I think it was throwing Drew Eisenman off guard, as we see again. He keeps on trying to send it to the inside, and then he blinks out. I would imagine for Drew, it's very scary because you don't know where he is.
Yeah, it messes you up as you're saying that, driver. You can see him behind. He's not there. And there's Chris Hudson. And I was waiting for him to disappear. Looks like he's. He looks like he's up. There he goes.
There he goes.
Especially into the corners too. He sees really bad in some cases. Especially times where you see him disappear, you don't know where he is for a split second. And if you're mirror driving, it's only going to make it worse. You see him, ooh, he's trying to size up Eisenman heading to Maggins, and Beckett's can't quite get it done. As Eisenman's going to still hold him off. Up in the front, his battle isn't over yet. Chris Hudson just barely ahead of Eric Mickey. Mickey's been able to keep touch. He's still been struggling out of Maggins and Beckett's, which I think might be his Achilles heel.
I'm trying to think. I haven't been paying attention enough to actually see where Eric's gaining, but it does look like that. I think Carter's is trying to drive really defensively, and I think he's losing time as a result of that, which might be. I think that puts James Walker in a really good position here because he's going to be able to start gaining times to see Eric run over that curb.
That's what we're really interested in seeing here. With just about, we're coming to lap 8 now with 10 minutes left on the clock. As Walker trying to chase these guys down as they're just over halfway through the race, and he doesn't have that much time to deal with this. It's more a matter of getting the passes done.
I'd be curious how Walker approaches this, because he could wait it out and see if these two crash, or he could try to go and try to get the lead from them and try to run away. And both are kind of viable right now.
Yeah, I think for Walker, as soon as he can get past Mickey, I think Kundinger shouldn't be too much of an issue. Depending on how hard Carter's going to fight, you can see Kundinger actually going defensive down the straightaway here, heading to Brooklands. Mickey was not able to make the move done, but ooh, looks like Kundinger might have charged that corner a bit too much. He actually made it through okay.
Yeah, Kundinger's a really strong defender, so I think he'll probably be able to sit out and stay in the lead for quite a while here as you see him go a little bit wide.
Yeah, a little bit wide. It's going to hurt his straightaway speed just a smidge. Mickey with the run here, and if Mickey makes a move into Cops, it's going to hold him up quite a bit there. You see the 88 pull out wide. Not going to get it done.
It's going to mess up his mid-apex a little bit there. Didn't lose too much time.
Run through Maggots and Beckett's.
See Mickey really putting the pressure there. Oh, that was probably a touch.
If not, it was really close to. We saw how close cars can get to each other from the last race between Brown and Morelli. You see him trying to get the draft off of Kundinger. He's trying to break it here, heading to Stowe. Very vulnerable part as the leading car. With this part of the trick, see Mickey try to guess it up. Whoa, gets sideways.
Again, doesn't lose that much time, though.
Who's coming and right in behind? James Walker in the 97. He's knocking on the door now. It's effectively a 3-car battle for the lead. James Walker, it's going to be 4 laps to go. Curious if it's enough for him trying to make it on through. I think, yeah, you know, on paper it seems like it would be, but with Eric and Carter, I can imagine both these guys, they're going to defend for all they're worth to keep that 97 in behind.
Yeah, I think seeing that Eric is trying to put that much pressure on Carter, I think this is probably going to be a really tough battle, and I think especially because Walker, seeing Walker in your mirrors, he knows, Eric does, that he has to run, especially at this point.
And we're not going to pull away, really. This is the closest battle on the entirety of the track here between our 3 leaders, and definitely going to be the most interesting one here. The most at stake and the most on the line right here up in the front of the field. And for Mickey now, we were talking about Walker, what he needs to do. We were talking about Carter, what he needs to do. What about Eric Mickey, who's pretty much in a sandwich between these two guys?
This is a tough position because either you can sit behind and let the other guys fight, or you can, again, go ahead and try to fight for yourself. And I think he's been in the position this entire time to where he's been fighting. So I think he's probably going to try to stay as that person and try to get ahead of Carter. Oh, gets really close again.
He's been taking really tight lines. He's not even been on the asphalt at the apex of the corner. He's been on top of the anti-cut curves, trying to make up some time on the 0-2. He's got a bit of a run now heading towards Stowe. He's been sizing up Kundinger every single lap. It doesn't look like he wants to sit in behind, but looks like he's going to have to do another lap.
Oh, gets really tight. It looks like, I think Carter broke a little bit late because he's looking at Mickey in his mirror. And it looks like they both kind of got shuffled a little bit.
Yeah, that's the last thing Carter needs to do is to mirror drive. You see, Mickey trying to work around the outside is going to force the 0-2 to yield here. Here's a tight corner.
Place to go too wide.
No, it definitely isn't, but Mickey's going to make it last. He's going to have a run here heading down the front stretch.
What's Walker going to do? Oh, he's going to back out.
Can't run 3 wide through turn 1. I know that for a fact. That's a recipe for a disaster as Mickey is able to clear ahead of Kundinger. Kundinger going to try to have a look down into Village, but as Mickey gets poorly on the brakes, here comes Kundinger with the switchback.
Is he going to do it? It's going to be really tight.
He really ties the head back down the straightaway here heading towards Brooklands. Look at the 0-2 all over the back of him. There he goes. Here is the look here heading down the straight into Brooklands they go. A great 3-car battle for the lead here now heading to Luffield. It's going to be Kundinger that cycles back out. And you see Walker having to back out with Mickey's car under compromise. And James Walker is slowly running out of time here. When they come back to the line, it's going to be 2 laps to go.
Ooh, I think Mickey might have...
Whoa, he gets...
A little bit of a tap.
Yeah, as Mickey went sideways over the curbs, had to slow down. Walker got into him just a nudge, but that separated them out quite a bit.
I was just going to say, it looks like Eric Mickey's kind of burned his tires a little bit because he's struggling again. He's definitely getting... He's struggling a lot on his exits because he wobbles around quite a bit.
And we were talking about at this point in the run last race too, towards the end, these guys trying to get some more squirrely on their tires, especially they've been battling like drivers like Eric Mickey's been battling pretty much the entirety of the race. And that's not what he needs. He needs his tires to still be fresh to keep up with Carter, but Carter now slowly pulling away. Still think this battle is going to be far from over though. We're going to quickly just look at another battle that's going on here. Andre Kuffler, Edwards Lamb, and Drew Eisenman here for position as we're working through club. Oh, and Andre Kuffler going to throw to the inside. Eisenman, he goes sideways. For Andre Kuffler, this has not been a good round. This is actually here heading towards Stowe. Moves to the inside of Eisenman to make a move. Both these drivers alongside now here heading into club, just wasn't able to keep the car to alongside, was trying to force the issue. And again, with this car, I really don't think you can truly force this car to do what you want.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of those cars that you can do that. It's not the Ferrari challenge for sure.
And around Andre Kuffler will go. He'll be cycling back out into 12th. Go back up to our leaders here. Tighten back up yet again as as you work through Luffield. Mickey back on the trail to 0-2 and Walker. He's got to come up with a new game plan here as we got a lap and a half left to go and he's still back in 3rd.
Yeah, I think looking at his lap times, I think he's watching the cars ahead and I think he's thinking, man, I really just don't know how to get around these guys because I mean his lap times are basically just not improving at this point, which means that I think he's just not able to find the time.
Yeah, we always say it, catching is one thing, passing is another, and it seems to be the case for Walker. You see Mickey almost make a move side by side into the S's, really forcing the issue and forcing his tires as well as they come back out onto the hangar straight. Not a good enough run for Mickey. See, he starts to get some of the toe and a draft back on Carter Kundinger, but it's not enough. He's too far back. He's just, I think, got to force the Kundinger into a mistake at this point.
Loose.
Yeah, that's costing him quite a bit. Here they go through the final series of corners. When they come back across the stripe, going to be the white flag in the air. 1 lap to go for our drivers here at Silverstone in Porsche Supercup race number 2. Mickey make up the gap. It's about 0.5 of a second. He's not only got to make up the gap, but he's also got to get the pass done as well.
Yeah, Walker really needs to take this opportunity. I think Eric's really roasted his tires at this point. I think James should have quite a bit more pace than he does at this point.
Guys now pulling back onto...
As Eric goes into the grass.
Oh, and
the
he
dirt.
goes out wide as he tries to save the car. It's going to be James Walker that takes the lead. Sorry, takes second place away from Eric Mickey. You see him flash the lights trying to signal, hey, Carter, I'm not done with you yet. They still got half a lap left to go. I don't know if Walker's been saving up anything or what he's got to show here in half a lap, but we'll see if he can get something done. For Cundinger, he's just got to keep his eyes out ahead and just put in a solid lap.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a tactic to try to get Cundinger to look in his mirror and maybe miss his braking spot.
And he's trying to make him worried here that now he knows that Walker's in behind here. You see them head through Cops a little bit wide for Cundinger, but not too bad. Through Maggots and Beck's to go. You see another flash of the headlights trying to distract Carter Cundinger up the road.
Walker has to get a really good run through here. If he does, he's got the draft.
Oh yeah,
Looks like
he's
he
got a
might do it.
great run through here, but it's all the important part is here, coming onto the run to the hangar, straight heading towards Stowe. One of the best passing opportunities to make, and it's coming up here.
As you see Cundinger weaving, he's trying to break the draft, and looks like he's probably going to do it. I don't think he's got enough of a run. It's going to be probably in the final turn here if we see anything.
Well, you see James Walker send a Hail Mary into club. That's really your last chance of getting it here. A little bit wide for Connor Cundinger. It shouldn't be a cut course, shouldn't have to worry about it. Here they go into club. Deep on the brakes they go. Cundinger is going to park the bus here through the final series of corners, and he will emerge as the winner in race number 2. What a battle between these drivers. And for James Walker, he's going to have to settle for second place. Eric Mickey will round out the podium with a valiant effort and a valiant drive in third. Gainer, a great effort from him in fourth place. Drew Litke in fifth. Nicholas Morelli in sixth, with Chris Hudson and Kyle Edwards-Lamb that will finish in eighth. Dreisman in ninth. And Mick Blue will round out your top 10. What a scrap for position, and I'm sure James Walker will love to say one more lap, and he probably would have had Carter.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that would have been... He was gaining quite a bit, too. I think he had the tires to do it. I just think he didn't capitalize early enough, unfortunately, and I don't know if he even could have, really, because it was going to be really tight and risky.
Absolutely here, let's see. Work. Oh yeah, that's showing correctly. Is Carter Cundinger your runner in race number 2? Great drive by our top 3. They put on a fantastic show, I hope, for everyone at home. Great battle for position. You see Carter trying to light it up here. Not sure how you can really do that with the aids on the car. I thought he was trying to do a burnout, but he's just going to accelerate here. Put on a show for the virtual fans. But with that here, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. We'll grab Carter Cundinger, James Walker, and a few others to interview, so please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, we're back here live with Race 2 winner Carter Cunningham. And Carter, man, what a drive it was at the end of Race 2. Race 1, you pretty much saw James Walker take off into the distance, but Race 2, you held off not only him, but Eric Mickey. Walk us through how you were able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, both races, honestly, were just beyond what I expected tonight from me. Race 1, I mean, I tried to keep up with James as much as I could. I think me putting down a quali lap that was as close as it was to him kind of made him realize, oh shoot, I need to actually probably drive this thing, and it can't just be a cruise like times have been in all the practice sessions all week. But yeah, just kind of fell to an unfortunate slowdown where I wasn't even off track in race 1. So I just focused on, finishing in my spot with a 0x race. I was able to do that. And then for the second race, I knew that all I needed to do was get through as many people as possible and basically throw as many cars at James as I could, because he was going to be my target. And then, yeah, just battling with Eric Mickey at the end. I mean, it was honestly just a great battle. And I knew that if I was going to win, I had to pass Eric as soon as possible. And so there's even a time that I lost the position to him, and I just knew I had to get it right back. So I had to do something drastic, and it all worked out in the end. And had James coming up on me at the end, but it was lap count just was in my favor.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely was. And Carter, thanks for talking to us here, and well, best of luck when we see you next week.
Thank you, Finian.
Moving on next, we got our AM Cup race winner, Ryan Plort. Ryan, both your AM Cup, obviously you won in that race, and race 1 for you in the Porsche Supercup went pretty well. Unfortunately, the race 2 for the Supercup didn't quite go so well for you.
Race 2 was the race 2 for the Supercup. That was awful. That was more what I expected out of the night. Honestly, I don't have much experience at Silverstone. I just picked up the track on Tuesday, so I honestly was thinking of ducking out tonight because I just had no confidence at all. I don't know how I ended up on pole in the AM race. I don't know how I won. And I did all right in that first race, but the second race, it was just there's so many spots on this track where I felt I had no control over the brakes, and I was ambitious going into that chicane on Eric and Andrew because I thought Eric was following Andrew in there. He kind of made a little bit move to the left, and I just didn't know what I was going to do at that point. I was down to 46 and a quarter on my brake bias, and if you apply more brake at that point, the car just spins.
Yeah, we saw quite a few drivers be pretty sketchy on the brake. What would you say is probably, and we see guys struggling quite a few corners, what would you say is probably the most difficult corner you had to deal with?
Yeah, it was, I was trying to be really careful out of that last corner, that little off camber, a lot of spinning there, but overall, the AM race went well. I mean, I was kind of just trying to focus on an endurance mindset, get the car home because I just wasn't confident with it. But the early spin in race 2, that was my downfall because after that I was like, I wanted to catch up and push too hard. So, but interesting night.
Yeah, definitely interesting night. It had really solid performance in the first 2 races. So if that's anything to go off of, can't wait to see what you got in store for us next week.
Thanks, Finian.
No problem. And with that, we'll cut to Eric Mickey here. Eric, you had a fantastic spout with the top guys in the top 3 in race through to, I know race 1 wasn't much to talk about, but race 2 definitely almost had a shot at getting the win there. Eric, I think he is not here or at the mic at the moment, unfortunately, but we'll cut straight to James Walker. And James, fantastic job. Race 1, as always, you drove off and never looked back. For race 2, you had quite a workout for you trying to work up through the field.
Yeah, I was expecting the first race to be a lot tougher. 'Cause I was expecting Kurt and Todd to be in the race, and they didn't show up. Carter gave me a run for his money, though. He probably could have had me. You just need to be a little more consistent.
Yeah, and also just looking at race 2, we've seen both here and at Zandvoort race 1, you're the bread and butter, starting on pole and finishing up there by a few seconds. The race 2, haven't been quite able to bounce back to get the win. You've obviously been finishing extraordinarily well, finishing second in both race 2s you've participated in. Is there anything you think you could try to, anything else you feel like you need to do to try to get that race win in race 2?
I just need the traffic to go in my favor. There was a couple of times where I had the cars that were side by side. And I'm like, I don't want to push them 3 wide because it's going to end bad. It is what it is.
Yeah, it definitely is what it is. Still a really good night. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're pretty sure you got actually, you probably would have tied with Carter Kundinger for maximum points out of tonight, with both of you guys finishing 1-2 respectively in either of the races. But solid job to you, James. I can't wait to see you next on the track.
Thank you.
With that, that is effectively gonna wrap up our interviews for tonight. Actually, quickly, I got a word in with Eric Mickey. Hey, Eric, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, there you are, Eric. And I was saying, you had a fantastic battle with the guys up in front for race number 2. Want to walk us through that battle from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, race 1 went really bad for me. Too much contact out there for what I should be doing. So race 2, I was just trying to take advantage of my poor race 1 and hopefully come home with a top 3, if not try to sneak a win. And things fell in the way that I thought I might have been able to, but I was racing there with Carter for a while. And the last few laps, maybe 3 or 4 laps, the handling just went away on me, and I was like feeling like I was sideways every corner, just trying to hang on, and somehow was still close enough that I had an opportunity there if he made a mistake. So at that point, it was just trying to keep the pressure on for a mistake, see if I can get lucky, but not going to complain too much about a 3rd place finish after how bad the first race went.
Yeah, indeed. And Eric, if I'm not mistaken, do you have a win this season in the Porsche Super Cup?
I believe I won Monza race 2.
Oh, okay, you did. Okay. Well, we definitely had quite a few times of getting some more wins. Is there anything else you feel like you need to improve on to try to get some more wins? Because obviously you definitely shown to have the pace.
If I can get, I need to take more of my own time, I guess, to practice dealing with adminning and all that stuff with the Am Cup race. I'm running on a track with basically by myself, not against other competitors, and for a little bit, and then I'm spending 40 minutes or so before 5 minutes before qualifying for the Supercup race, not in the car. So if I can just do a little bit more prep before race night comes, I think I'll be better and not make some of the mistakes I keep making. But in general, if I find myself towards the front of the pack, as long as I can try to make it interesting for you to call and watch, then I'm good with it. I'm good with whatever happens.
Yeah, indeed, it was a fantastic race. What a great show you put on. Thanks for talking to us, Eric, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. See ya.
All right, and with that, that's going to wrap up our interviews here for tonight. Jeff, some fantastic racing we saw, especially in race 2. We were both thinking that race 2 is going to be pretty hectic, but it put on a fantastic show.
Yeah, race 2 is quite a good. I mean, that was very, very close. There were a lot of really nice racing there. There's really a lot of nice little spots that ended up going on there, and I think that was a result of the invert. So that was, as much as I like to say the invert is definitely annoying as a driver, it's always a very, very good watch as a commentator.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping really that everyone else at home enjoyed the battle as much as we did in the booth. Well, that's going to wrap up coverage here of the Porsche Super Cup for tonight. Next broadcast for SimTV will be on on Saturday. And that will be the Formula I Championship. They're heading to Suzuka, so that's going to be some interesting stuff with the Formula 3 and the Formula 1 Championship. Very competitive in that series. But for this series, they're heading next week to Spa. Can't wait to see them tackle Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Fantastic racing circuit, one of my favorite on the iRacing service. But for now, my name is Finny Kuna here with Jeff Roy, and we'll be signing out. Thank you for watching.